How's it going, Ninja Turtles fans? Today I'm responding to the people who say Leo's relationship with Karai and the 2012 version of Karai is better than the 2003 version. I'm totally against that, and I'm going to prove it right now. If you believe in that opinion, stick around. You'll change your mind. Let's start with the 2012 version. First of all, Karai's debut was nothing special. She appeared leading a Foot Clan attack on Leo. Leo instantly liked her in a completely illogical way the moment he saw her, even though she was the one leading the attack against him. She could have killed him right there, but for some strange reason she didn't, and they didn't even know each other yet. So in that first episode, we get an illogical and pointless encounter where Leo is suddenly attracted to Karai, goes to talk to April about her, and ends up going to meet her at the place she told him to, despite her not doing anything meaningful. It's clear she just shows up to mess with him a bit. His trust in her basically came from nothing more than the typical teenage crush on a hot girl after a single look, plus the fact that she tossed him back his sword when he lost it in the fight against Snakeweed. At that time, they were in trouble without weapons. She threw him his sword, and then just walked away with her team, treating the whole thing like a bit of fun. Later, when she saw them fighting the Krang, he smiled. Leo showed off in front of her, rescued his brothers, and that was that. After a bunch of encounters I'm not really interested in mentioning, here are the key points. Leo trusted her so much he didn't even want to tell his brothers about her, and Raph only found out because he saw them together. She later tracked them to the Krang's base, stole a robot body, and got them caught in a fight with a mutant monster after pressing a button that dumped all kinds of animal DNA into the Krang's mutagen. Then she just bailed. Later, she kept messing with the turtles until she attacked a Krang spaceship. When she realized there was an alien invasion threat, she offered to team up to destroy it. Leo refused the first time, but when he saw her trying to destroy the ship, he left his brothers to save her, brought her into their van, and pretty much took her to their lair, meaning she learned they lived in the sewers. Regardless of the rest of that episode's events, Leo discovered she was Shredder's daughter, or at least that's what she thought. At that point, Leo became more rational, and her relationship with the turtles grew colder because they had used the information she gave him about Shredder's place and tried to kill him. Leo also distanced himself after finding out she was Shredder's daughter. Things stayed that way until Splinter told Leo the truth about Karai, that she was actually his daughter, not Shredder's. Here's Karai's backstory in short. She was the daughter of Splinter and Tang Shen, and her real name was Miwa. The known story is that Shredder was jealous of Splinter and in love with Tang Shen. After a series of events, he accidentally killed Tang Shen, and Splinter was nearly killed in the fire. Shredder's face got burned, and while escaping, he found Splinter's daughter lying on the ground, took her, and named her Karai. When Leo learned this, his hope for Karai returned, and he kept trying to convince her. She wasn't convinced, and at one point she was actually about to kill the turtles after they told her the truth, only for Tiger Claw to save them, because they were hostages in that situation. Maybe she had a bit of curiosity about what they said, and honestly, that's probably the only positive moment for Karai in 2012, where the writer tried to show some hesitation. But even that got ruined later when she came up with a plan to pretend she believed Splinter was her father, just so she could find their home and lead the Foot to it. Without thinking, Leo took her straight to the lair, until Splinter himself convinced her for real, in a matter of seconds. Literally 1 second she's faking, the next she's genuinely convinced, with no inner conflict or hesitation, as if the years she spent being raised by Shredder meant nothing. She had reason to hate him, sure, but it should have been gradual, with real emotional struggle. This is what made Leo and Karai's relationship in 2012 work in a romantic way, even though it wasn't built well at all. She betrayed them multiple times early on, then suddenly accepted their side with no psychological struggle, except for a couple of weak attempts at doubt in the Tiger Claw episodes, and she even tried to kill him easily without hesitation. After all that nonsense, I'm not even interested in discussing the rest. In the end, she became Shredder, wearing his helmet, but with the goal of cleansing the Foot Clan. And that's that. Now, regarding the 2003 version. She was an orphan whose parents abandoned her. Shredder and her father gave her shelter, a place to belong, and trained her in combat. Her life transformed from a homeless child on the streets to the leader of the Foot Clan in Japan and later in New York. The reason she went to New York was that, in the eyes of most people, Shredder was dead. But in reality, he was just recovering. I won't go too deep into that part. Shredder's absence caused a civil war for control, so Karai went to New York to take Shredder's place, save the Foot there and the city, and protect Shredder's property until his return. She allied herself with the Turtles because they had a common goal: stopping the war. Leo's admiration for Karai here was gradual and logical. When her plan started to fail and her men told her to escape, she refused to run and leave the Turtles in trouble caused by her own plan. That alone is a moment that would make anyone respect Karai. Their first encounter ended with a gentle farewell and mutual admiration and respect. Here, Karai had a genuine conflict between her principles, which aligned with the Turtles, and her loyalty and feelings toward Shredder, who was actually kind to her. Imagine, he adopted her, raised her, supported her financially, and as far as we know, never physically abused her. She still had her dignity and physical well-being, unlike Baxter Stockman. Even when she failed him many times, Shredder treated her well. This strengthened her internal struggle. She respected the Turtles' principles and agreed with them on several things, but at the same time, despite hating Shredder's actions, she remained loyal to him because she owed him as a person, which is natural given her upbringing. Leo admired her honor and morals, and maybe, in a small part, admired her as a woman, but it was accompanied by something deeper. In this arc, she was basically Leo's mirror. She fought with two katanas, and she would do anything for her father just like Leo would for Splinter. If Splinter and Shredder had swapped places, Karai would have been Leo, and Leo would have been Karai. There was mutual understanding between them. Leo's trust in Karai here had a foundation. He was always trying to appeal to that honorable side of her. In their second encounter, he even sheathed his katana mid-fight and stood in front of her, as if to say, "You're honorable. I know you won't strike me." It was a reckless move, but understandable because he was betting on her character, and he won that bet. The honorable side of Karai gave Leo a real reason to try to reach her. And for the record, even he didn't push that point endlessly, because they were similar in a way. When Karai explained that Shredder was her father and she could never betray him, Leo understood. He was like her, but lucky that his father figure was Splinter, a good man, and he accepted that fact. And before you say anything, remember back to Leo and Shredder's very first encounter. Leo almost became one of Shredder's followers, believing he was a warrior for justice. The only thing that saved him was Splinter telling him the story of Yoshi and how he was killed. Unlike Karai, who had the added layer of Shredder raising her and feeding her his version of events her entire life. Because of that, I can understand and appreciate Leo and Karai's relationship here, and love it in all its details. The writer made Karai take actions that allowed the relationship to develop naturally, with respect between warriors and a small dose of teenage attraction on Leo's side. On the other side, Karai was caught in the whirlpool between Leonardo and the Turtles, who represented her honor and morals, and Shredder, to whom she owed loyalty and a life debt. This thread wasn't dropped. From her first appearance until the end of Season 3, that inner conflict simmered like water in a pot over low heat. It all boiled over at the end of Season 3, when Shredder was leaving Earth to attack the Utrom homeworld. The Turtles came to stop him. For Karai, it would have been in her interest for Shredder to leave. She could have continued balancing her honor and her loyalty like before. She, like Leo in Season 1, believed the Utroms were evil and her father was good, even if he sometimes used questionable methods. But when Leo, knowing the truth, refused to let Shredder go, this was the breaking point for Karai. Her loyalty forced her to board the spaceship with him. That's why I love the Exodus Part 2 episode. It's a masterpiece. First, for the many callbacks to previous fights with Shredder, he lost due to third-party interference. His helmet was knocked off just like in his second fight with Leo on the Return to New York episodes, the electrical attack like at the TCRI battle, and the Shredder attack from behind like in their first fight. Second, and most relevant here, the real star was Karai. Her season-long inner conflict exploded. She hesitated to fight the turtles at first, then fought only defensively, then engaged Leo directly in what felt like a confrontation about the chaos in her mind. Almost a split-personality moment in this episode. She was the best ally to both the Turtles and Shredder in the same episode. How? She fulfilled Shredder's constant demand to kill the Turtles by stabbing Leo herself, the one Shredder hated most. She was the first enemy and the first of Shredder's followers to penetrate the body of one of the Turtles with her sword, and almost the only one in the entire series to do so. At the same time, she was the Turtles' greatest ally in that moment, listening to her honor and stopping Shredder from killing Leo and the others. Without her, Shredder would have ended them there. She literally reached the peak of both her identities in this episode. From her side, after the Utroms sentenced Shredder, and from Leo's side, after she nearly killed him, their relationship naturally became weaker. Even her villain arc in Season 4 makes sense. After losing her father, it's natural she'd hate the Turtles, even if it came from blind love and loyalty. Still, one more point in her favor. Even as a villain, she didn't attack the Turtles' friends. The only time she spoke to April was to ask where Leo was, because she had no one else to ask. This is in contrast to the 2012 Karai, who directly attacked the Turtles' friends. Comparison conclusion: the 2012 Karai's relationship with Leo was rushed, built on shallow attraction, and lacked deep psychological struggle. She switched sides too easily, betrayed them repeatedly, and her development was inconsistent. The 2003 Karai's relationship with Leo was gradual, rooted in mutual respect, and deeply tied to her moral code and loyalty conflict. It had a strong foundation, a believable internal struggle, and memorable moments where both characters understood each other on a personal level. And that's why, for me, 2003 Karai will always be the better-written character and the better match for Leo. Not because of romance, but because their bond had depth, respect, and a shared sense of honor. It's a connection that was tested, strained, and at times even broken. But it was always believable. Unlike 2012's version, which felt like forced drama, the 2003 story gave us a character whose every action made sense. And that's why, in this debate, 2003 wins, hands down.